ready, and here we are. And of course, we've got Bat 13. He does not disappoint. He is first up on every live show, I guess you could say. It is good to see you. And of course, my man Russ, it is good to see you. 1047 checking in. And of course, Kiki is checking in. Been a minute, can't wait to catch up. There you go. And get those questions up. If you've got any questions from Mike, get them up. And we've got Dead Broke in the house. One second. And of course, we've got Rolling Smoke Barbecue and Cooking. We've got a Facebook user, Hey Dude. And of course, that would be Maddie right there. So we've got all three in the house. We've got Maddie, Kiki, and Barbecue Mama. I know I saw her right there. And without, whoop, not right there. That is Uncle Pink's. I know I got Barbecue Mama somewhere. The chat is going quick. Let me bring Mike up right now, and we will get this show started. There he is. Can you hear me, Mike?
Tommy, how are you, buddy?
Gotcha. Let me lower this a little bit so we don't get feedback. So what is shaking?
Not much, man. I spent the day relaxing. I got a little workout in this morning and watched some football and just tried to make it a relaxing Sunday.
There you go, man. I know I'm not that into football as I used to be, but I know Dallas did win. I was a big football fan growing up. I think I told the stories here, but I was into it with bookies for a lot of money. As I got older, I kind of gave all that stuff up.
I only watch it because it was my dad's favorite sport. So I
football.
Always think about watching a Bears game. I have memories about watching games with my old man. So that's the main reason that I'm kind of stuck on it.
How are the Bears? Not really doing too good, huh?
They're terrible. Yeah. But that's okay. I go in with very low expectations, so I'm never disappointed.
I saw Detroit is having a good year. That's surprising because I guess they're like the Bears. They just haven't really won anything in a long time.
Well, they got a great coach now, and they've got a lot of good talent on the team. And actually, we were up by 12 points on them today with 3 minutes left, and then we choked, and they came back and won. So,
oh shit, that's tough.
Yeah.
So just to bring people up to speed, so as I try to rack my brain, and of course, there's not much left in there, but as I try to grab a little bit of the piece of the brain that I have left, I think Mike was probably, besides the big high flyers like maybe Troy over T. Roy Cooks, Mike was probably one of the first, if not the first show that I ever watched. And I can almost pinpoint the show, Mike, and I believe I just told you this the other day, was when you had a bunch of steaks on the Blackstone. For some reason, that show sticks out in my head, and it was probably at that point that I said, you know what? I mean, this dude's doing this with a camera. You may have just had a cell phone camera back then.
It was, yeah. That was just an iPhone 7 back then, yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably how it started for me. And I just, because cooking's always been in my blood, like everybody knows. So when I saw Mike, doing something on YouTube, I just, grabbed my phone and just started filming, and here we are many, many years later. And boy, has the game changed, huh, Mike?
It has, yeah. And I remember seeing your, I think the first bit of content I saw from you was a smash burger video, and I remember I wanted to give you some love because I really enjoyed the video, and I could tell from the way you were doing stuff that you had definitely probably worked in a restaurant as a kid or something. Like you weren't just some goofball, that you knew what you were doing. And so I I remember putting together a shout out for you, and I remember doing it. And I think that video did pretty well. That's back when you could launch videos and get good views, you know. Um,
Definitely.
and yeah, it was well deserved, and it felt good. You know, I had people help me out, and I wanted to do that for you, and yeah, and I I remember it very, very like it was yesterday. You know, so much has happened since then, and so many things have changed. But yeah, I'm really glad that things have gone well for you too.
You know, it's funny because it did seem a little bit easier back then, for sure. You know, and it certainly has changed a little bit. You know, it seems like as the camera equipment went up and as the subscribers went up, the views in a way have not gone up with it. You would think at 60,000 subscribers, would be a shoo-in for two, three, four, 5,000 views of video, and that's just not the case.
No, it's tough right now. I mean, I don't. I'm not an expert in it, but I can tell you that you know I know that TikTok has changed the landscape, and the short, you know, vertical content has changed the landscape, and the platforms are trying to gear everything towards that. So I feel like, you know, that's made it a bit of an uphill battle. I think long form content is a lot harder to get through to the you know, to the bulk of people that are on YouTube. I don't think it gets out there as easily anymore. I think it's other things are being promoted, you know, right now. So we just have to kind of fit into what it is that's going on if we feel like that. I know a lot of people are, for me, you know, and I went through this for a couple of years. I struggled with not doing things that I was, you know, if I wasn't inspired to do something, I didn't want to do it, you know, because when I started, I was able to just do things that I was inspired to do and they worked. But as time went on, you know, and there became more competition and tougher, you know, circumstances, I think that attitude is not one that's going to be a winning attitude anymore. I think it's really hard. I think now you have to kind of fit into the box that they want you to be in. And, you know, I never necessarily wanted to put myself in a box with content or with the algorithm, but I feel like it does it to everybody. And I think that's why when you see some channels that specify in just one thing, they tend to do better because the algorithm just seems to have a good beat on them, you know.
Now,
But I didn't want to do that, so I tried to be flexible and I tried to do different stuff, and you know, it helped and it didn't help at the same time. But I think we talked about this before too.
yeah. Now, how come? Why wouldn't YouTube want to spread it around, spread the views around a little bit? I mean, I'm not going to mention any channels, but because I know the person, he's worked. Oh, I'll mention it, Guga. So I know the guy has worked hard and deserves all the success he has. But when he puts a video out and gets 100,000 views in a matter of 20 minutes, you know, or a half hour or whatever it may be, you have to think, you know, that why won't YouTube spread some views out to all the channels, to some of the, you know, channels just starting up, and let's face it, channels like you or me or a couple other channels that have been out there for 5 years. You would think YouTube would send a little bit of love our way, and I know for a fact that things have changed to where a lot of viewers don't get notified when I release a video. And I think you had said a couple weeks back that for somehow you were unsubscribed to my channel.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it happen with. There was a time I was unsubscribed to Greg's channel, and that, you know, I mean, is just as impossible as being unsubscribed to yours. Like, it's just not going to happen. I always support my friends. I watch all of Greg's content, and Greg was like the first. Well, Greg was the second YouTuber. The first one to ever reach out to me to help me, and I'll always credit him, was Lyle at No Hippie Barbecue, and he's still a good friend of mine. We don't get to talk anymore because he's a truck driver now and he's out on the road all the time and he doesn't really make cooking videos anymore. Um, but Greg was the first first like bigger channel to, show me attention and to see something in me that he thought was going to be good, and he helped me out a ton. So yeah, I mean, for me to like not be sub to his channel, and I've had that happen in other instances too. Like, of course I won't get notifications sometimes when somebody that I'm subscribed to releases content that I know I have noties on, or I'll be unsubscribed, or there's just weird stuff that happens, and
Hmm.
I can't explain it, Tommy. I really don't know. I don't have the answers, because if I did, I'd share them with everybody. Like, I'm not a very secretive guy. Um, but it's been an uphill battle. It's been an uphill battle. In Guga's case, I mean, Guga's content is so amazing. I think everything he gets is so well deserved. He's an amazing creator, and he's a great cook. And I think the one thing about Guga that just is, unmistakably the most powerful characteristic from him is his attitude and his approach.
Hmm.
I think if we all approached it with that attitude and that energy, I don't think anything could hold us back. But I get discouraged. I get discouraged. It's hard sometimes to stay focused. And granted, not that I'm going to make excuses. I would not use these things as an excuse, but in a 1 year span, starting at the end of 2020, I lost my grandmother, my stepmother, my dad, and my mom. You know,
Hmm.
four people that I loved a lot, and they were not all expected. And so there were times I stepped away, and I didn't have the consistent content. And to be honest, I still haven't gotten back to where I'm weekly. I do it when I can. I have other obligations too. I run another business here from home that I've had since 2005. And I have consistent content creation with other with El Yucateco. I think most people that know me know that,
Hmm.
and hopefully that'll continue for a long time to come. I mean, we'll see. A lot of the same content that I had sponsored work for this year. Some of that stuff didn't come through this year because
Yeah.
companies were reappropriating funds and doing other stuff, and um, and I think it's got to do with this thing that we're dealing with, which you know we're becoming less popular spot, to do advertising because the views are a little tough to get right now.
So what you're saying is basically cooking shows aren't exactly high flying. I guess they kind of went awry, as you can tell. The Food Network doesn't even have cooking shows on it anymore. You know, I like doing recipes. It's funny because I think we are in two opposite corners because we are both going through show changes, where you're going to a little more narration in your show, and
Right.
I'm trying to get a little bit away from it. So I think that's an interesting, between the two shows. I'm trying to get away with it just to bring some more juice to the show. I think the show has stalled a little bit, as far as it's just this, my show I'm talking about. It's just the same old. Every show, the cuts and this and that. So I'm trying to add a little bit more. Where what made you want to go the opposite direction, which is a little narration.
Well, I think the main reason for it was, the attention span of people is just not what it was. I think that good point, Ricer. I mean, for real, like, we are all old, and you're in my case, we're old fat dudes, right? So um but yeah, I think for me, I just wanted to kind of hum the video along a little bit better, and I
Hmm.
didn't want to have any dead air, or I didn't want to mistakenly say something more than one time, because back 4 years ago, 5 years ago, you could just turn on the camera and be you, and if you said something twice, or you fumbled on your words, or you forgot something and then you came back and said, "Hey, I forgot this," that was YouTubey and people liked it. But I think
Hmm.
now it's really important to capture people and to keep them interested, because they will become disinterested a lot sooner and easier now than maybe they would have. So that's my mentality. So my thought process behind this was, I can do the cook, I can take notes, and then I can narrate over it, because then I can really focus in on things that I feel are important, and then I can, I can focus less on things that are less important, and I can make sure that I'm giving everything in the right order, the right chronological order. Do better storytelling, I think. And I also have learned a lot about audio from Jabin. I've had the opportunity to work and be friends with some really amazing creators, and I've always learned something from each of them. And for me, the biggest thing that I've taken from my time with Jabin is learning how to tweak audio. And so I really personally like, and just this is going to become a little bit longer than I wanted to explain, but let me just explain, because you understand how it is to create this stuff,
Yeah,
right? Like, I never
I
knew
think
I had
people
any creative genes
do it.
at all. And so when I start, from the very moment when I plan what I want to do, whatever I'm inspired to do, or whatever I'm assigned to do, or whatever I want to do, until the moment when I finish my edit and I render and I upload and I title and tag and then I schedule, that whole thing is me. And so um, I want to like it, you know, like I want to be happy with it when it's done. At least I've never made a perfect video, but I've had some that I've been 90, 95% happy with. And to me, that's a good accomplishment, because some of the stuff is unfixable. And I don't think without having a camera crew and, audio people and video people and an editor, a pro editor and everything, like I'll probably never make a perfect video, but I've come close a time or two and they've done well. But the most important thing is, whatever you see that I put out, it's something it's me from start to finish. So I like the way the audio sounds that way. I like the way the video flows that way. And I wanted something also, because it was becoming a little discouraging. I wanted something to sort of, you know, get me excited about doing it, again, just to change something to make me excited. And I think it has. And I've done a lot of voiceover, and I've also done some where I've sort of incorporated both. And, I really enjoy it. The way I've got it right now, I really enjoy it. Has it
You
yielded better results? A little, you know. Uh, is it measurable, and is it worthy of saying that it made a difference? Probably not. But I like the changes, and that's really all I care about.
Do you find it? I'm thinking I know the answer because I've done both styles, and I'm thinking you find with the voiceover a little bit more easier. Would you say?
Yeah, I think it's easier. I do think it's easier in some ways. But I also think that sometimes it can create more work. It's rare. Usually, more work is created when I don't do voiceover, because if I forget to say something, then I have to go back and try to match the audio and find a good piece to put over for B-roll. Because I don't like jump cuts and stuff. And so the way I do it, it fits me better, because it allows me to create what I consider to be better content. But yeah, I do, and it is easier. So I guess those kind of go hand in hand, because I do believe in 9 out of 10 cases it's easier. Yeah.
So, so I'm trying to figure out a direction for me. I'm not going to mention the name of the person that is helping me. I was
Uh-huh.
told not to, so I'm not gonna. Of course, I'm
I
just
might
busting.
know.
But I've it's kind of interesting because it's almost like the way I'm going to start doing it is almost like a live voiceover, if that makes sense. So I'm going to, and actually the girls, Maddie and Kiki, kind of do it. And I didn't even notice how many shows actually did it this way because I really wasn't paying attention.
Mhm.
So basically, a lot of the filming is going to get done and a lot of the edits are going to get done. And then instead of doing what I'm doing now, talking into the microphone as I'm watching the footage, I actually do a lot of the edits and then go back outside. So it's a second day of filming and editing for the one video where I actually, instead of sitting here saying, blah, 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 I now go outside and say it and then come back in here and cut it in to the part that I'm showing, which for me, it gives me more juice because it's hard for me to get juice when I talk into this microphone here in my office. But when I'm outside doing it, I can get a little bit more animated. And I'm hoping it brings just a little bit more excitement to the show. And it's probably a switch up for me that at this stage in the game, that I need to do. I guess you could say just to move the show along. But I just thought
Yeah,
that was
buddy. And you know
interesting.
what? I think it's a good change for you if you like it. I think whatever you like is, I think, and here's the other thing: you won't know unless you try. And I think right now, if you're ever going to try anything, just because you wanted to try it, this is the time. I really think this is the time because I don't know that anything we do can make things worse than they are.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you want to change and you want to do something that sort of gives you that spark, makes you feel like you're creating something a little different and you're happy with it, then I think this is the time to do it. And I've done a lot of videos like that, like exactly like what you're saying. In fact, a lot of the El Yucateco content I shoot was done that way, and it was voiced over in the kitchen. Now, the issue that I had was there were times, and this is just how it goes. I can only assume that what I'm about to say we've all dealt with, but I could have, I could have the best notes, right? I got 2 videos worth of notes right here that I folded up so that wouldn't be on camera, but I could have the best notes, and I could even like my hook and everything that I want to say in front of the camera. I can have all that in front of me, and inevitably, I'll forget something. And my kitchen is such that when my cameras and my lights are in the places where they are, which I have to drag all that crap into the kitchen every time I shoot it. It takes me an hour to set up every time. Um, if I forget to say something and then I have to go and I have to recapture that audio, unless I set everything up where things are bouncing the way they were off, it doesn't sound the same. And so for me, the voiceover is easy because I don't have to match anything. I'm just doing it all from here. Actually, now I have a much more expensive microphone. I think you reached out to me about the audio stuff a couple months ago, and I was telling
I
you I'm using
did.
this cheap owner mic, but I have a much better Rode mic now.
I
Either way,
actually I actually purchased the one that you had, but I ended up
okay,
returning it and I ended up getting this one here, which was quite expensive,
yep,
but it's funny because I got it and I don't do too much voiceover anymore. But the way it started for me was so because I get up so early in the morning, 3:30, and a lot of time I'll start to edit in the morning, and the wife would be
mm.
sleeping, so I'm like, hey, and people would say, "Why are you whispering?" And I'm like,
Right.
the wife's sleeping right next door, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm even looking to. I think we get into these habits that we don't even know we're doing it until it's just so long that just eventually we just to get out of the habit. I mean, I've gotten that comment so many friggin' times, and it's just because it's hard for me to sit on this microphone in my office too and get excited, so we'll see what happens. uh, you know
I find that when I lay my footage over, like what I've been doing lately with the voiceover is I lay all my footage out, and then I'm looking at what it is that I want to illustrate, um, and then the words come out of me better. you know, the words come out of me better because I'm seeing what the audience is going to see versus instead of what I'm thinking they're going to see when I'm filming because I'm not the camera, and even though I can look at the monitors or whatever, I'm still not ultimately like sometimes. I mean, I'm sure this has happened to all of us, but I'll shoot a video and I'm like, this video is going to be awful. this is going to be terrible. Like, I don't think I got any good shots. I don't think anything was in focus long enough. I don't think the food looked good. I just feel like I'm going to have to redo this whole thing, and it's going to cost me an entire day. And then I load the footage up, and it's amazing. Very little color changes need to be done. Everything is centered and beautiful, and I'm like, wow, this is great. And I actually feel like when I'm doing the voiceover with that, I'm sort of in the same space the viewer is, so I'm able to engage them better that way. But at the same time, I like being in front of the camera, so I try to sneak a lot of that in when I can, especially funny stuff. Because like, what was it? The Lone Star Pellet Grill, the Lone Star Pellet Grill review video that I did. I had 2 months worth of footage. I mean, it was
That's
ridiculous.
crazy.
I had a lot of stuff to go through, and I was filming myself just being stupid while I was doing things, and making dumb faces or whatever. And I was able to incorporate that into some of the sections of the video, and I thought it really gave the video a lot of great life. So even though my voiceover was very attentive and to the point, and it flowed well, and it carried everything, it carried people from one segment to the next segment. I felt like me popping in occasionally, doing something stupid or saying something stupid, I really think it helped that video. Um, so I still try to do that, but to be honest, buddy, I haven't really found my total groove with all this. Like, I don't know how much of this and that I want to do, and it might be different on every video, but I definitely will say that I think the quality of my stuff has been better since I've been using the voiceover. Um, and I have done the voiceover, like I said, where I'm in the kitchen and I'm in front of the camera. That way I can cut back to myself and cut away and so on. But I tend to like what I'm doing now best, and that's right now. It could change. Maybe I'll find some other method that works better, or feels better to my creative mind. But for now, I really like it. And if you look, there's a lot of channels that do it that way. That they're in all different genres, but they have a lot of good success. And I think it's a matter of the flow of the video. Just carrying the viewer from one segment to the next, and not stalling on one thing too many times. And when I look back at my old stuff, and again, we could get away with this back then, I would repeat myself 50 times. And the funny thing was, those videos did well back then. But I remember David at Adrenaline Barbecue, now S&S Grills, he was the first one to tell me. He's like, dude, you got to stop saying the same thing. Like, say it and move on. And or don't tell people. And he said it in the nicest way. I love David. David, the opportunities David gave me, they were the first step in me being able to take this and make it my job. And I'll always be grateful to him for that. So I'm not saying anything bad about him. I'm just telling you, he used to give me really good constructive criticism. And he'd say, stop telling me what you're going to do and then telling me what you're doing when you're doing it. Just
Yeah.
tell me what you're doing when you're doing it. Don't tell me we're going to go outside and do this and we're going to cook it to this temperature and then do it again when you're doing it. Just
And that's
tell me
exact.
what you're doing.
That's exactly the habit that I was getting into on my videos.
Mhm.
I would talk and say, so we're going to go over to the pit. We're going to fire it up. We're going to set that temp to 250. And then I would cut to me at the pit, lighting it up, setting that temp to 250, and those are the habits that we get into as creators. And if no one reaches out to correct us, which I don't mind. I ask for criticism all the time, because that's the only way. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I could care less. I'm a little bit more together than somebody hurting my feelings about anything
Then
like that.
doing what we do will force you to be sort of tough-skinned, right?
Exactly. So going back to that point. So that's what I'm trying to do now. Say, we will, light up the grill. We'll set that temp to 250, blah, 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 and laying the footage over when I'm saying it. Now, the only problem for me that I see right now, and now I've just started it, is to try and to get that 8, 9 minute show that YouTube is, wants. I because now I'm not having those double cuts, those double scenes. So now, I'm talking, so, doing the live with the dropping the stuff right over me. So, I'm looking to stretch, see how I could stretch them out, 8, 9, 10 minutes, whatever. And all this is a work in progress, obviously.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't focus so much on overall length. I just focus on flow. And and hey, you know what? I mean, I'm not crushing it right now. So maybe my approach is wrong. But like, I've tried it, Tommy. Like I took I took a chicken teriyaki video, which is one of my best recipes. And I was making videos at the time that were 5 to 7 minutes, and they were starting to fall in views. So I'm getting concerned, and I'm like, it's got to be something I'm doing. I got to go back because I looked at some of my most successful videos, and they were longer videos. They were 20 to 30 minutes. So I stretched this chicken video out to like 12 minutes, maybe, and I allowed myself to ramble a little bit. And I thought, okay, well, let's see if this is what the algorithm wants, and same crap. So I just told myself, you know what? I'm just gonna tell the story how it is, and I'm gonna make sure the video flows well based on my judgment, whether that's good or bad. But if I feel good with it, I'll go with it. And hopefully, the algorithm will agree. And if it doesn't, well, then it won't be any different than the last one. I'll just go make another one, you know? And that's kind of what I focus on. I think it's just right now, all we can do is, um, I think a lot of us are striking out a lot, and, the batting averages are going south. But I think all we can do is keep practicing and get up and, keep trying to swing, right? Because if we can't quit, I think sometimes by making a lot of changes, I think we create more variables that might actually hurt us. So
Yeah.
it's hard. I don't know. And of course, this is supposed to be a living, breathing thing where it's constantly changing all the time, right? Because it's learning. It's the self-learning algorithm that supposedly has no hot button, um, or cold button. Um, but I feel like all we can do is just make our next video. And so whatever we like, whatever we feel, whatever goals we're trying to achieve, checklists we're trying to get done through the video, and good flow, I think once we're done with it, I think that's the best we can do, right? I mean, um, we don't have anybody here that's a magician that can tell us, no, no, do this, change that. I think we all started doing this the same way, and it worked. Now it's not working as well. And I think what we're doing is we're looking inside ourselves and saying, what am I doing wrong? And really, we may not be doing anything wrong. It may just be that people are consuming this differently now. So, what we might have to do is change our approach a little bit as far as how we get new viewers to the channel. And lately, what I've been doing is I've been using this remix feature. Um, some people know about it and some don't, but if you're on the regular YouTube app on your phone, so not the studio app, but on the regular YouTube app, you can go to one of your videos if you're logged into your account, and there's a remix button. If you got to have the remix option available on that video, you got to have it enabled. But most of us, I think, have it set default yes. And you can pick, looking at the analytics, you can pick a high point in the video where you have the most viewer attention at this 15 or 18-second spot. And what I do is I clip that spot and I throw it up as a short, and at least half of them do really well, and they bring way more new subscribers to the channel than long form content. And so my hope is to do that every day, and that eventually that carries over to long form content, so that when I do release long form content, more people will get to consume it. That's the hope. We'll have to see how it works out.
Now, weren't you full time for a while?
This is still my main source of income. I still run my IT company, but I had really cut back on that for a while. I almost couldn't do that anymore. in 2020 and 2021, I had a couple really amazing years doing videos, like better than I've had in 20 years,
Well,
you
that
know.
was COVID.
Um,
Would you say?
well, COVID created a lot of opportunities, and a lot of people were home, and advertisers wanted more content out there because people were consuming it, you know. But every year since then, it's gone down and it's gone down. Now I'm still doing well, but you know that could change. You know, at any moment, you know things could change for the worse. And so I'm feeling like you know I'm trying to make changes to where I can sustain better and you know longer. Um, and again, all I can do is my best, buddy, and I think it's the same for you. Like the one thing very susceptible to is getting down on myself and hard on myself about stuff. But I can tell you that I try real hard not to cut corners. There's times I have to because I'm juggling so many things. You know, like my day job. Well, what used to be my day job, which is my part-time thing now, really my IT company. It gets really busy sometimes. Like I'll have 20 or 30 jobs in a week. That's a lot of time, and to do that and still have to make 2 videos, it'll take
Yeah.
me 2 to 3 days to get a video done from the time I start to the time I'm done and ready to go upload because I take a long time in the edit bay, um, and, there's always something inevitably that slows me down, you know? So sometimes I can't spend enough time on a thumbnail or enough time trying to get this shot perfect or, so sometimes I just gotta kinda go, you know? But I just and I don't even know where I was going with this. I've gone off on a tangent, but my point is that I don't know that it's all about what we're doing right or wrong. I think there's a lot of it that is, but I think if we make too many changes at one time, it may be harder to figure out what we're doing that's working and not working. You
Yeah.
know, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So I guess the for myself anyway, the changes that I'm making are really for myself.
Sure.
You know, I'm I'm okay where the chips will drop, where the chips will drop. You know, it just became a bore for me. Unless I got pumped up for a recipe, you know, it was just the same old. And so my changes are more just from more for myself, just to bring some a little bit more excitement into the show. And you know, like I said, where the chips fall. You know, it's when I latch onto a recipe. I did a cook today, so the things that get me most excited are the recipes. And I latched on one today that I got off Instagram and cooked it today. And that, you know, and I was jacked up for this recipe. You know, I did so many turkeys this year for you know for my channel, but for other channels. But they're all appearing on my channel. But what can I do? You know, when the people want them. But I'm pretty much turkeyed out for sure.
Yeah, and I get that. And I mean, I'm seeing some comments coming in. Like I got Corey said over editing is irritating, and Smoking Joe says Mike wants his videos to be a little too perfect. I'll tell you how I got into that habit. I mean, when you're doing content for like, I remember when I first started to shoot videos for David at SNS Grills, formerly Adrenaline Barbecue Company. First, it was just David, you know, that I would work with, and then Justin worked for him for a bit, and then Jabin. And I mean, when I'm telling you that I would send a video in that I remember originally I sent my first video into him, and I think he was just being really nice to me. And he said, he being David, he's like, "Yeah, we'll go with this one. This is great." You know, I think he was being encouraging. He was not wanting me to be too worried about stuff. But the second video I sent in to him, there was a list of like 20 things that he wanted better, and I'm talking from audio to color to cropping to like, I mean, we're talking about like a lot of work, you know,
Yeah.
and I got used to that because I would get that stuff back from Justin or from Jabin. It'd be like, oh, this shot that you have outside, it's a little overexposed. We got to bring the midtones down. the audio's a little bit here. Here's what I want you to do. We're gonna adjust the audio and try to drown out a little bit more of that background noise. You got birds back there, whatever. Like, this is the stuff that I got used to dealing with. So it carried over to my content. It carried over to my content because this was the habit that I was in now was every time I would look at a shot, if I have 3 cameras, I'm saying, okay, I gotta pick the best angle, but I also have to take other things in consideration, like um, you know, is one overexposed? Does one have better color than the other? And so these are all things. And then if I still like the other shot, then can I adjust the exposure enough to make it look as good? Can I saturate the colors a little bit? Can I lower the exposure? And so these are the things that I got started to become very aware of. And so, yeah, they did carry over to my content. And I'm glad that they did, because I'm very certain that that's how I got other opportunities on my channel, because I think companies would look at my content and say, wow, I think this is good enough to where I want to ask this person to review this cooker or do this or do that. And I think that, I don't know. I mean, I guess so yeah, you could say I'm a little bit crazy about it. Um, but I have to, I have to make those people happy. And, like, with El Yucateco, they're a global brand. I have to make sure that what I'm putting out on their channel is good content. It has to be good content. I can't do anything dumb to, deface the brand, and it's got to look good. It's got to sound good. And I'm very grateful for those opportunities that I have. And so I put a lot of time and effort into it. And, maybe sometimes I do overthink it, but it's just my approach that I've gotten used to. And you know, and still, if I send some of these things to Ricer or Justin, they'll be like, "Oh man, you still got to fix this." So I'm not the worst. I'm not the worst.
I, although I do some stuff for create for other companies besides myself, they're all are pretty mellow. I'm not sure how I would handle where this actually really starts feeling like a job. Like, I know SNS, their content is perfect. I mean, and I don't know if and I don't know how I would personally feel about that, especially at my age. I'm just not looking. I don't want headaches, man. I don't want headaches, and I don't want, I don't want, I don't want to bug out over a video and start having panic attacks. And, I kind of really wanted to give that shit up when I retired from work, screwing
I get it.
somebody's floor up and trying to fix it with them in the other room, those type of panic attacks. One time I was working in a hospital, and I had a flame torch, and I was heating up a piece of cove base that was on the wall, and the flame must have went behind the wall somehow. There must have been a lot of dust there, so it actually caught fire in the hospital.
Oh
And
man,
I don't want that feeling, that panic attack feeling when I'm doing this. So
I
far,
get
I
it,
guess
buddy. I
I've been
get it.
pretty lucky.
I get it. And I will tell you this: that it was very panic attacky for a while, but now I'm grateful for it because it made me become better at what I do. And, I'm not ready to retire yet. I'm unable to do that yet. I still have to look at this, and I got to try to do the best that I can because, my biggest thing in my life is my family. It's my wife and my kids. And everything I do from morning till night is for them, everything. So I try to approach what I do as seriously as I can without giving myself a heart attack. But I take it very seriously, and so I try to be a people pleaser. But I think that part of me has made me better at what I do also. It's given me
It
more
has.
skills, and it's forced me to do stuff that I would normally not have done. I would have been like, that's good enough. But I mean, I sometimes, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Because that's what gets you to pop through and really, to experience to get to that part where you can really experience that other side of it and be glad that you went through it, sometimes you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so, as
Yeah.
much as it can be a pain, I think it's worth it. And I'm proud of myself for doing it, because I could have quit many times. There was a, I could have given up on it a lot of times, and I could have said I'm not going to do that or whatever. And don't get me wrong, I am still firm about, like, here. Let me put it this way: when I create content for El Yucateco, it's going on their channel, so that's their logo, not mine. Okay. When I created for SNS, their channel, it's their brand. And I always told David, I said, whatever you want me to do, as long as it's not illegal, unethical, or in some way going to affect me personally, I'll do it. Like, even if I disagree with, you want me to change the shot or shorten this or make this longer, even if I, as a creator, disagree with what you want me to do, it's your channel. I'll do it.
Yeah.
No problem. You know, when it's my channel, it's a little different. I just did a video for a company, a couple videos, and I sent something into them, and they wanted it to be more like, well, this doesn't show our brand enough. And I'm like, let me tell you something. This is going on my channel, and it's not going to be a commercial from start to finish. So if you want it, this is what it is. I'm not changing it. We can scrap the deal. I can send you your money back. I have no problem with that. But if it's going on my channel and I got to deal with the consequences from people and from the algorithm, it's staying the way it is, you know? And they were like, oh yeah, well, we're grateful that you told us. And sometimes you just got to put your foot down, because it was
Yeah.
good quality content. There was nothing wrong with it. They just wanted it to be more about them. And I'm like, well, it's not about you. It's about my channel,
Yeah.
that I've spent the last 6 years building. And so while I'm agreeing to work with you for a fee to promote a product that I like, it's still going to be done my way. But I made sure the quality of it was good, so there's some differences there, I guess. I don't know.
I totally agree with that. If I'm creating a video for somebody and it's going on my channel, there is only so much push from that person that I'll
Right.
allow,
Yep.
because it is going on my channel, and there is always that fine line for us as creators where we got to keep the content interesting without it looking like we're just pushing. So I
And
definitely
they'll
agree with
take
that for
advantage of
sure.
you, buddy. Like that. And I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry, Tommy, but I
Yeah, go
want to
ahead.
just, any creators that are here that are new or starting out, like, I would like to warn you all right now that these advertisers, they will just chew you up and spit you out if you let them. Like, you got to have standards and boundaries, and you got to know your worth. You better know your worth, because in the beginning, when you first start, if you get an email and somebody says they want to send you a spatula, we get like, wow, this is so cool. I'm going to get product. And the most important part of it is that we get excited and think, somebody noticed me. I must be doing something right because somebody wants me to show their stuff on my channel. And in reality, all they're trying to do is take advantage of you. They're trying to use your work and your effort to sell stuff. Meanwhile, you're mistaking the whole situation. So you have to be very, you have to scrutinize all that stuff as much as you can. I get 5 emails a day probably with different types of offers. Yeah, Justin, you should send that spatula back, dude, unless it says SpongeBob on it. Um, but you have to be careful, because they'll take advantage of you. So you have to be very selective. I mean, I get emails all the time about promoting video games and VPNs, and
Yeah.
I don't do that stuff. I could. I mean, dude, I've been offered up to $5,000 for a 30-second spot, to do a VPN ad. And I verified that this is a company that pays, but I'm like, I can't put a VPN thing on a cooking channel. You know, I cook stuff and I review stuff like grills. I don't do, and even though I know about VPNs because it's in my day job, I don't. I'm not going to promote that on my channel. I feel like that would just kill my channel. It would crush everything. So people still get mad at me though. Like, if I promote a thermometer, they'll get mad at me. Wow, you got paid. It said you got sponsored. I got bills to pay. What do you want me to do? You know,
You know,
I,
I I did a pizza oven video the other day, and somebody bitched at me because they felt the oven was dangerous. And I even said in the video that this oven's not for kids, because some flame does come out the back. But they still bitched that, I hope the sponsorship was worth it, blah, blah, blah. And, it was a good video. And I definitely dig the pizza ovens. It's $100. What are you going to get for $100? But it's a good, it's a good pizza oven. I definitely stand behind it. I've had stuff come my way that never made the air. That's
Oh,
just
me too.
complete
I got a whole
garbage.
closet of it here, dude. I got a
Yeah.
whole closet of it, and these people they email me all the time. Are you gonna do? I said no. Your stuff sucks. Like if you want me to make a video on it, I will. But everyone's gonna know that it sucks. And honestly, I won't do it because I don't want to be that guy that defaces you. Like that's not what I want to do. There are people in this uh, field that they thrive on the negativity. Like they love to find bad stuff and make videos. And sometimes that gets really great views. I don't want to do that. I've been in business since I was 13 years old. I don't want anybody to hurt my business, so I try not to hurt other people's businesses. Now, there was one exception that I made, and everybody that knows me knows I made one video about one product that I didn't like, and it turned out to be one of my top 5 videos. Uh, but I felt that I had a responsibility to let people know that this thing was a death trap, you know. And so I made the video. But outside of that, if it's junk, it doesn't make it to the channel.
Yeah. I'll take most any, like, I've talked about this so much. I'll just bring it up again. I hate that YouTube stuck me in a smoking corner. I would rather do recipes than sit there and smoke, like, let's say, like ribs or a brisket, because to me, there's not really much to it. But I'll take most cooking appliances if I can get a recipe out of it. But again, you got to be careful because a lot of this stuff comes from, from China, and it's junk, it's garbage. That's the one thing with Amazon. You can guarantee that 80% of the stuff that Amazon sells is straight from China, straight from China.
Yeah. You get a spatula like that big.
Yeah, and it's knockoff. I mean, they take a good product and they just make it cheaper, and they sell it on Amazon. When you try to do a search on Amazon, you can't even find the product that you're looking for because you get hit with all the knockoff products. And even if you search the product by name, you still get hit with the knockoff products.
Right. No, I mean, I tell them all if it's anything that I'm interested in, I'll just say you can send it, but it'll be evaluated privately first. And if it's going to make a video, there might be a fee.
Yeah.
So those are if you don't agree to that, then don't send it because I got enough stuff here anyway.
What's your
But they'll take advantage of you. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
No, well, I don't even know what I was going to say. You go ahead. You go ahead. My thought went out the window.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite grill to cook on, and what's your favorite thing to cook?
Wow, they go hand in hand because each of my cookers seems like it has a special talent. It will make one thing better than other grills. So, and if I'm trying to knock somebody's socks off with barbecue, it's always going to be the Lone Star offset or the Lone Star pellet grill, or if it's ribs specifically, it'll be the pit barrel cooker. But I love just making burgers because you can do so many things with burgers. There's so many, possibilities, different things, and so there's a lot of flexibility with it. And man, it's still hard for me, honestly, to beat Kingsford Blue, just smelling that Kingsford Blue burning. And so I love my kettle with my slow and sear and some Kingsford Blue and maybe a chunk of hickory. And The only problem with that is if I have people coming over, it doesn't fit enough food for everybody sometimes. But if it's just me and my family, like if it's chicken breasts or if it's, hamburgers or whatever, like I really love that. I love to sit outside. When I was a kid, my grandpa, it was Kingsford, it was, charcoal. And I lived with my grandparents for a couple years. Long story. But my grandpa was an awesome, awesome man. And he would always want me to be hanging around with him. And we would sit out in the yard and just smell those coals burning. Now, that's back when he would, you know, lighter fluid and
Mm-hmm.
torches and all kinds of stuff, so it was really old school. And they used to lay foil on top of the grates so that the food wouldn't catch fire when the grease
Yeah,
dripped
yeah.
on the coals. I mean, this is going way back. Now we have the slow and sear and the off, the hot zone and the cold zone, and the slow and the slow cook method, the direct over the fire or the reverse sear. But I love going to the kettle with Kingsford Blue and a chunk of hickory. I think if the kettle was big enough to do anything I wanted to do at any time, I could probably get away with just that and not having anything else, honestly.
I mean, I think we would all be amiss if we didn't admit that we all grew up on match light and lighter fluid, and
Yeah, yeah,
burgers that tasted just like it. I mean, that's probably one of the main things that have changed. I think we all had kettles, 14,
yeah,
13, 12, 15, whatever, with the match light. And, when we barbecued out, it was two kinds of barbecue for me growing up. It was either you had a Weber gas grill or a gas grill, and you had a Weber kettle. Those were the two things growing up that, that at least what I grew up on. And it's completely different now because, first of all, the kids got so many friggin' options now. You didn't have all those options before, but,
right.
the majority of them really don't know how to grill or cook. It's just become, unless you're going to school for it, and you want a background in restaurant or something, it's just a forgotten art. At least here in my area, it could be different in Dallas or depending on in the South. It may be different there, but here it's forgotten. Even though Lowe's and Home Depot have huge sections to sell the stuff, it's just a completely different ballgame now, I feel.
Hmm. Yeah, things are so different now. I mean, technology and I think the stuff that we use in general is just so different. But there are some things that, I mean, like I said, I can remember that smell just takes me back,
Hmm.
40 years. So it's it's hard to not want to do that. And yeah, I've got a Weber gasser, and so there's times I just don't have time to wait for coals, and I'll go out there and throw stuff on there. And I love using my other cookers. I really do. All of them that I have here, I love them. The Blackstone is something that I love to use. I hate to clean it afterwards, but because I'm so anal about it, man. Like if I can't leave one little crumb on there, like it's got to be perfectly cleaned and perfectly seasoned before I can walk
I
away from it and cover it. And it's sometimes a big pain in the ass, if I'm
I
being
was gonna
honest. Where the kettle, like when I'm done, I take the food off, I put the lid on, I close the vents, and I go in the house. I don't have to worry about nothing.
didn't your channel start with a griddle?
I got a griddle about a month or two after I started the channel. So yeah, and honestly, I think that was it was a blessing because it brought a lot of people to the channel, but it also kind of put me in a box where it was like anything I did Blackstone griddle was great, and anything I did that wasn't Blackstone griddle didn't do great. And I really didn't like that because I didn't want to be like a Blackstone guy. I wanted to be able to do other things, and so I did. And
But
it probably hurt me in the long run, but that's just now. I mean, what would I have done if Blackstone would have gone out of business or something? Then my
so
channel would have been
let,
nothing.
let me put this question to you. What
Yeah,
happens if you never put another grill on your channel and you just stayed with the flat top, especially if you stayed with the Blackstone? How
yeah.
big you think your channel would be right now?
I couldn't tell you,
Because
buddy. I don't know. It could be a
well,
million. It could be 100,000. It would certainly be bigger than it is.
So
That I know.
the big griddlers. I know. I don't know if Hussy's still in here. Did you start before Hussy did or after?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I remember he was in a group chat with a few other guys when we started, and it was like I think Hobo Nickel used to do the thing called the hot seat, which is kind of like what you're doing
Thanks,
here.
Joe.
And so I met him through that channel, and I know that he existed at that time, but I don't know when he started. I really don't.
Yeah, I would venture to say, and I'm going to say this about you because I'll say it about myself also. Because I started pretty much with a Blackstone, but again, because I like to cook, that meant I was going to bring other grills and ovens and this, that, and the other to the channel. But I think if I never did that and just stayed with the Blackstone, I mean, who knows how many subscribers. So, maybe sometimes we hurt ourselves, but we do what we want to do anyway. Because if we're not doing what we want to
Yeah,
do, then what's
absolutely.
the point?
I agree with you. I mean, I remember when Camp Chef came to me and wanted me to try their griddle, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I'd like to contrast that, to the Blackstone and just kind of see if it's as good or better, or maybe some things are better and some things aren't. And I thought that was going to be a really good thing for the viewers because there's going to be people that want to know which one's better. And so I decided I'm going to do it. And man, did I have to eat a mile of crap for that. I mean, the Blackstone fanboys just jumped all over me, and I got a lot of hate for it, but I really didn't care because it's what I wanted to do. I mean, a part of me was like, gosh, I don't, what if I made a big mistake? But I was like, this is what I wanted to do. Like, even I myself wanted to know the difference between the two. And so, more opportunities came and stuff that I wanted to do, I did. I mean, I was doing whatever because if just for the pure matter of if I wanted to do it and I thought it would be good for people that watched, then I would do it. And I really didn't care about the algorithm. But yeah, going back, if I would have stuck with that, which I still wouldn't do, like if I had it to do over again, I still would have done what I did.
Yeah,
Because I think ultimately it brought me a lot more other opportunities that have been much more lucrative than just cooking on a Blackstone,
yeah,
especially back then. Like Blackstone never paid any creators for anything. I mean, it would have
yeah,
got me a lot of views and subs, but I don't know that it would have made, me a living, like other things did. And so I don't know, honestly, what the results would have been, buddy. I think that's something that's impossible to know. But
yeah.
I would still do it the same way that I did it. There were other mistakes I made early on. And if I can, I know we're running low on time, but if there's other creators in here that don't want to make the mistakes I made, I'm going to tell you what they are. Do I have a couple minutes?
Go ahead.
Okay. So probably about 2 years into my stuff, when I was getting great views and everything was going wonderful, I signed up for this service called vidIQ, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen or gotten marketed with. All right. And it was like, oh, we can take your existing videos and make them so much better by changing stuff in the keywords and descriptions and titles, and we'll advise you on thumbnail stuff. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is totally worth the money. I'm going to do it. Well, so here's what I did that was dumb is I took my 5 best videos and I thought, you know what? These videos are already doing great. I can make these better because if they're doing great, it means that they're being looked at as good videos. So if I just make those better, then my channel is going to be it's going to blow up. It's going to be better than it is now. And so I went in and I did all this vidIQ stuff on my 5 best videos and I ruined them because uh, after they dove in views and got nothing, and they all died after I made these changes. I requested because you get as part of this vidIQ package, you get this YouTube expert, and so I talked to this guy on a Zoom thing, and I was like, I did this, and he's like, oh no, you never ever change. He said, if you have a video that's doing good, you never ever change anything. He said the only thing you can change on a video that's doing good is a thumbnail. Other than that, and he said, why would you if it's already doing good? He said, you never do that. If you go in and you change one letter in the title, one letter in the description, or anything at all in the video at all, it re-indexes with YouTube. And so now it's like if you re-uploaded the video and YouTube analyzes it all over again, and whatever magic it found originally to make your video do well is not likely to be refound. And
Yeah.
so I crushed those great videos.
Yeah.
Instead of me being smart and going to like videos that were doing terrible and re-indexing those, I did it to my 5 view carriers and I screwed up my channel. And I didn't know that at the time. Nobody told me. It's not like
Yeah.
vidIQ had a thing that said, well, don't do this to successful videos, only do this to crappy videos. It just said, no, here, for this video, do this, do that. And so I did it. And I made a huge mistake. So if there's anyone here listening, if you have a video that's doing really well on your channel right now, do not, I repeat, do not change anything. Don't even click the edit button to go in and look at something. Like, just
Well,
leave it alone and let it
I
carry
can
the
tell
news
you
for you.
if I happen to ever get a video on my channel that is doing good, I will not touch it. That I can tell you.
You've had somebody I know, and right now, I like I said, I don't think it's that we're doing things bad. I think we probably could have a better approach. One thing I never do is I never think about like, I wonder what's highly searched, or like I should be doing stuff. I do what I'm
Yeah.
inspired to do, and
Same.
instead of doing
Same.
what I should do, if that makes sense.
Same.
Yeah.
When I, we'll end the show after this point here. When I get on a
Sure.
recipe, like today's recipe, I want to make the recipe, and I'm jacked up to make the recipe. I've never made it before. It looks so friggin' good. I want to make it. I want to make it. I don't think it'll do that great on my channel because first of all, I did it on a gasser, but that's really. I'm going to move it over to the smoker, but a gasser was where the recipe needed to be, and it was for Monument Grills. But it's an awesome recipe, and I was jacked up to do it, man. I actually worked
Yeah, and I
today
and
on,
I think you should do what you're inspired to do.
yeah. That was today's cook on a
You filmed
Sunday.
today?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
because I was
I've
pumped
worked a
up to
lot
get
of
it done.
weekends, man, especially early on. Good, good, good.
So,
Yeah, I think
alrighty.
I think what we're doing is okay, Tommy. I mean, I think we could be doing stuff better. In terms of like just trying to do the right thing at the right time and maybe jump on some of those trendy bandwagons. And I haven't. I've tried it a couple of times or done it a couple of times, but it's never really been. I just kind of like get inspired and I want to do it and I do it and then I try to make it as best I can. But that's not really the recommended approach, right? I mean, maybe years ago that worked, but now I think we really got to think more about what we're doing. I think what we're doing, if I'm just going to sum all this up, I think what we're doing is probably more important than how we do it. You know?
I agree with that. I agree with that, and we'll leave it right there, man. Um, I appreciate you, man.
Okay.
Like I said in the beginning of the show, you were the first. You were the first one actually to give me a paying job, which was El Yucateco. That I'm pretty sure that was one of my
Well,
first.
I've always,
Go ahead.
yeah, I think so. I remember at the time, I think you told me, you're like, I don't know how to handle this because nobody's ever really, offered me that or whatever. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, here, let's just do this. But yeah, I remember it. And I'm very happy that you're doing well. And just don't get discouraged, buddy. I think we're all in the same boat. We just got to keep our heads up and keep pushing forward and keep making that next video. And I think all the creators on here, just keep yourself going. Remember why you're doing it. I mean, I do it for lots of reasons. Lots of reasons, really. I mean, yeah, and making money's one of them. I have to. I got a family, and I've adjusted my lifestyle to where this has now become a very important part of my household. Is paying bills and all that stuff. So that's part of it, but it's not the only reason. And I think, whatever it is, whatever motivates you and whatever reason you have, whatever your why is, just remember that whenever you get down or you get discouraged, just think about why you're doing it, and
You
and
know,
and put things back into perspective and keep going.
as I look at some of the people here on the in the chat, some are people that you talk to, Baby Back, Maniac, and some are people
Yeah,
and Dead
I love
Broke
Justin.
and Russ, and
Yeah.
there's some people in the chat that I talk to, as far as Russ and Dead Broke, Cooking with CJ, and so forth. And I'm talking on the phone, and I just want to close with this point as a creator. And Maddie and Kiki, obviously, as she just popped in, I figured she was in bed, but I guess she isn't. But to surround yourself with other positive creators is also very important. I wanted to close with that because there's a lot of times when we just need to talk to another creator, and not a negative Nilly, but a positive person who can shed some light or whatever. And I wanted to close with that because I'm looking at the chat and see some of your people in there, some of my people in there supporting, and that as a creator for some of the new people, because there are some new creators in here also, that is important to surround yourself with the other positive creators.
Yeah, and I want to close by saying that, and I mean this to all my guys that are in the chat. I mean, Justin, Greg's not in the chat. I'm sure he's got a lot going on right now, but Ricer, Russ, like, I think honestly, the best thing I've gotten out of doing this are those friendships. I mean, I can't replace those with any amount of money. These are not the kind of people that you're going to meet in everyday life. Like, something brought us all together. We all have a thing in common. And we like to cook. We like to create videos, and that will get you through anything. And I think that having that common ground, and then, weeding your way through um, so many, you know, uh, twists and turns in this journey, but having those friendships, like, I can pick up the phone and I can call those guys at any time. I have talked to Justin and Greg specifically about stuff that you just don't talk to other people about.
Yeah.
These are the, and they've helped me through some very, very difficult times. And so, I think that the most important thing, the most valuable thing that I've gotten are those friendships. And Ricer is no exception. I mean, he's been absolutely awesome. I wish we lived a little closer. I'd hang out with him even more because we're becoming better and better friends every day. So, yeah, that's probably where I'd like to leave it too, Tommy. I think that those friendships have just been amazing. I mean, look at that, and I got stuff on my wall back
Yeah.
here. I got Justin and I over here from when we went to the barbecue expo
Uh
in
huh.
Dallas, and I think it was 2019. And then in this other photo here, that's from the same event, but it's, I don't know if you can hear me, but it's Justin, myself, Greg, Chris from
I
yeah, I can't remember the name of his channel because he doesn't do content anymore. But then there's an dang it, I can't remember that was the guy that did the, not the big green egg, the God, I can't remember. And then there's T Roy's in that photo.
yeah.
Anyway, it was awesome, man. I mean, we had a great trip, and I've been back to see Justin two more times since then.
Yeah.
I've been up to see Ricer twice. Russ and I talk, on the phone, and they're just great, awesome dudes, and I'm just
Definitely.
grateful to have them in my life.
I figured I would put that up because that sits right here above my above my monitor where I edit, and
Awesome.
that was just last year where I got to hang out with a bunch of YouTubers, and I definitely next year I would like to add to that. And of course, I'm not going to mention his
Yeah.
name, but he would be right up there on the list. And there's a couple other ones that I would love to meet, and so hopefully we will get that chance this year, and that including you, obviously, Mike, on that.
Hey, love you too, Justin. Like a brother. All right, like a brother.
There you go.
Same here, Tommy. I hope we get to meet up by Ricer someday.
Yeah,
Come to
yeah,
the
for sure. For
dude. Come to the
sure.
car show next year when he
I
does it, because
know.
I'll be up there. We
It
had a
was, you know
blast
what?
meeting him that one day.
It was close. I believe I was going to Connecticut,
Uh-huh.
and the girls are going to win every time. So I went that route, and we'll see how it goes next year for sure. But Mike, I do appreciate you, man, and we will talk, man. We will talk.
Sounds good, buddy. Thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, man.
Yep. Take care.
All right. All righty, man. That is it, and they don't get much better than Mike. He's true blue, man. He's somebody you want in the pit with you when the chips are falling. That is for sure. So look, man, if you guys can hit that thumbs up, I would appreciate it, man. This was a fun show, man. This was definitely a fun show. Next week, we'll see what happens. I know it is a Thanksgiving weekend coming up. I plan on being back on live next Sunday. I don't know who's going to be on. I wouldn't mind getting this cat on right there. And of course, Joe, I wouldn't mind getting you on, Scotty. I'll reach out to somebody, man, and see if we can line up a guest for next week. I appreciate all you guys for watching, man. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Colleen, keep on sending me stuff. You've been slacking a little bit lately. I haven't got anything. Troy, I appreciate you. I know there was a lot of people I didn't get to call out because I was too busy trying to watch the interview. Joe, I appreciate the $30 super chat. Joe is another one, man. I've been, seems like from the beginning, man, 10,000 views. So I've known him for a while. So greatly appreciated, Joe, if you're still there. That is it, man. I'm going to end this show. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving, man. Remember what it is about. Go enjoy your families. Go cook something up on the old barbecue. And stay tuned to see who's going to be on next week's show, and if I am going to have a show next week, we shall see. And that is going to close out this one. I appreciate you all, and until next time, we